Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am your host, Vortex, from MobileMusicPro.com, your home for mobile music production. And if you are new to the channel, what we do here is release weekly videos teaching people how to produce music on their iOS device. And in today's video, we're going to be making some lo-fi sounds inside of Cubasis 3 using only stock plugins, right after this. And remember folks, if you do enjoy this content, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share out the show. Now this video is going to be continuing our short series on the lo-fi genre to celebrate the release of our brand new free sample pack and now the brand new sample pack contest that's going on from now until July 28th. Now don't get me wrong, there are a million apps out there guys, and in fact most of them are pretty great and affordable. But I do still think that there are a lot of Cubasis users out there that are sleeping on some of these amazing stock plugins from Steinberg. And indeed there are a couple of valid reasons why you should start using some of your stock plugins every once in a while, no matter what DAW that you're using. And those two main reasons are the stability and performance that you gain due to the developers of those stock plugins being the same developers of the DAW itself. Now those same developers are going to know exactly how the DAW works inside and out, and therefore are the best positioned to crank every last ounce of performance out of those stock plugins. And of course, it is always fun to try to explore what you can do within certain limitations, because it does usually end up to leading to a lot more creativity. And now with that intro aside, let's hop right into Cubasis and start playing with some of these stock plugins. But first, let's take a quick listen to this sound demo, and you may notice that I am wearing a different shirt than I was yesterday, because I did want to do some final mixing on this. This track by no means is finished or anything like that, but there was a couple of sounds that were poking out there. So now let's hear this sound demo and then take a look at all of these stock plugins. Alright, let's get the headphones on and let's hit play. Alright, hopefully you guys enjoyed that demo. As per usual, I don't get a whole lot of time to work on the tracks for this channel, but I definitely had a great time making this one for sure. And so now I think we can begin breaking down this track, so let's give it back to yesterday's Vortex. And now we're going to take a brief look at this project. So first up we have this coming in at around 90 BPM right here. which, as we have said before, is pretty typical of the lo-fi genre. And we do have about 21 tracks here, as you can see from the bottom, but almost every single one of these is frozen, so you pretty much got to cut that in half. So there's really only about 12 or 13 tracks here. And as the title of the video suggests, we are not using any external or AUV3 instruments here. Everything that you hear is coming from only Cubasis. However, there is a bit of a caveat to that, and that is that we are using some samples here. If we zoom in just a little bit here, you can see that we are using a drum loop from our brand new lo-fi sample pack. And in addition to that, we are using a few FX sounds here as well, a couple of risers and a down lifter. And then if we scroll to the bottom here, we can see that we are using a couple of ambient effects here. One is a vinyl noise crackle, and then one here is the rain, or the sound of the rain when you're inside of your car. Both of these samples are coming from a free Cymatics ambient sound pack. But all the rest of the sounds that you see here, all of the pads, the strings, bass, and piano, are all coming from stock instruments inside of Cubasis 3. And in addition to those stock instruments, we are using a filter here as well. And if we bring up the channel strip, you can see that we are using a high-cut filter here. And that is used in the beginning of the song to create an intro. So not much else being used here except for that high-cut filter, so let's close that. And now let's start taking a look at these tracks one by one. So like we said for the drum track, we are using a loop here from our brand new lo-fi sample pack. And we're not doing a whole lot here, just a channel strip to give this a little bit of gain, and then a compressor with the preset here of parallel drum crush, because we were trying to increase the volume of the drums there, so we're using something called parallel compression, which is basically just blending the signal of your regular drum loop with a completely crushed version of that same drum loop, and then blending those two to taste. Now both the compressor here and the limiter are using presets, but we've dialed these in a little bit to taste. And then after the drum loop, we have one more component here to the drums, and that is this micro loop here, which is using the Echo Drum 2 ARP preset. And the only thing we've really changed here is added some additional noise. So let's hear what this sounds like by itself. So definitely giving the overall track some additional percussion there, and kind of making it feel a little bit more dirty. And there really are a number of pretty cool drum arpeggio presets inside of this micro loop. And as far as effects here, nothing too fancy, just a channel strip, which we're giving a little bit of extra drive to, and then a studio EQ with a factory preset that we're using here of drum loop 2. So again, nothing too fancy on that sound there. And then we just have a few different effects here, a riser, a down lifter, and a bit of a special effect sound here with some chimes. So let's hear this riser first. And then the down lifter. And then finally the chimes. And then nothing too fancy on those tracks as well, just a channel strip there, which is mostly used just to control the volume. And next up in the project, we have our beautiful chords. Now those are going to be coming from the classic electronic piano preset inside of the Microsonic, which is a default instrument inside of Cubasis 3. And we are just using the default presets here of this classic electronic piano. Now Cubasis has a number of good presets in here that are all good for lo-fi, including the Whirly preset and the Mellow EP preset. And even the CP80 sounds really good as well. But of course we are applying a number of different effects on here to make this sound even more lo-fi. Now if we look to our left, we can see that we are using a channel strip here, and that's mostly just to add some saturation here via this drive knob with the tape setting. And then we have our compressor, which is using the factory preset of Melancholy Piano. And then we have our studio EQ after that, which is using the factory preset of Rhodes 1. And then finally a pan and tremolo one here, which is using the preset of Evade the Fade, but we've turned the mix down all the way down to 22% and reduced the phase to 125. Now beyond just these insert effects here, we also have some send effects. We have a Roomworks SC in here to add a bit more reverb, and then we have a amp sim in here to kind of dirty up the sound just a little bit, and then a bit reduction to dirty up the sound just even a little bit more, and then finally a tape delay, which is using the stock preset with a couple of modifications in here, and that is that I reduced the mix down to 78% and then set the time to eighth notes. Now let's listen to a before and after of this piano, so you can really see all the different effects that we're applying here to make this sound much more lo-fi. So first we'll remove all of these different effects and play the chords for you. And let's hear what that sounds like. And as you can hear, a pretty standard sounding piano. And now let's apply all of our effects back on. So we'll first turn on all of our send effects, and then turn on all of our insert effects. And let's play this back. So definitely a pretty big difference there. You can hear that this piano is much older sounding. With all of that distortion, it sounds like it's coming from an older speaker. And then we have that pan and tremolo effect going on to give the sound a little bit more movement. And now let's take a look at the piano that we're using for the melody. Now if we see here, we can take a look and see that this is actually another classic electronic piano preset. But I have a couple of different effects on here. And one of those is the rotary speaker. Now for this preset, we are using a default preset of narrow dirt, but we've reduced the dirt a little bit and reduced the mix a little bit. And this really is a fantastic stock plugin for using on your lo-fi tracks. It really is going to give it that old timely feel like it's coming out of an older speaker. And then after that, we just have a studio EQ. As you can see, we're taking out most of the lows here and taking out most of the highs. And then we just have an enhancer, which is only going to be doing a little bit here, because we are using the accented top preset to add just a little bit of extra sheen there in the high end. And then after that, we just have a couple of send effects, including the reverb and tape delay. So now let's hear a before and after. So let's disable all these effects first, and then we will enable these and play those back for you. So let's hit play. Alright, so a very basic piano with almost pretty much zero sauce on that. So now let's go ahead and add back our effects and hear what this sounds like with all of our insert and send effects enabled. So let's hit play. Alright, so again, another big, huge difference. One of those sounds like a pretty basic piano, and one of those sounds like a lo-fi piano. And next up, we have a couple of different bass sounds in here. So first we have our synth bass here, which will be coming from the built-in synth called Microloop inside of Cubasis, using the double sign bass preset. And beyond that, we do have a couple of effects on here, including a channel strip, which is just controlling the volume, and adding a bit of extra drive in here. And then the compressor, which is using the factory preset of level to bass. And we do have a threshold set here to negative 9.3 dB. And then after that, we have our studio EQ, which is using the factory preset of synth bass 4. And then finally, a couple of send effects on here, including the reverb, amp sim, and bit reduction. So let's take all these off and hear what this sounds like before and after the effects. So a pretty simple and basic synth bass there. Now let's turn on all these different effects and see what we get. Let's hit play. So definitely adding a bit more distortion to that bass there, and just setting it in the right frequency range so that it jives with the rest of the song. Alright, next up is our bass arpeggio, and I added this just to give the song a little bit more movement and a little bit more flavor. Because I wasn't quite happy with just that synth bass there just sitting there, I wanted to add a little bit more rhythm. So just like before, let's disable these effects and hear what this sounds like with and without. So let's hit play. So by itself, it kind of sounds like it belongs more in the electronic genre. But now let's hear what it sounds like with all of our effects. So definitely turned down the volume a bit there and took out most of the highs, and then added a little bit of extra distortion in there, and even slightly changed the character of the sound with this early reflections plugin. And once again, we are using these amp sim and bit reduction plugins built inside of Cubasis 3 to add some more grit and some more distortion, and make our sounds sound a little bit more lo-fi. And then next up we have our pad track, and as you can see, this is using the Dream Pad preset from the Microloop. And we didn't really change anything for this preset here, but we did add a stereo width to make sure that this sound does sit more in the background. and kind of ends up hugging the rest of the sounds there around your ears. And we didn't really add any lo-fi effects to this one. This one pretty much sounds exactly like it does, just with some of the highs reduced and some of the lows reduced. Yeah, we're using a Studio EQ preset in here of SynthPad 1. So it pretty much sounds the same as the regular preset, with just a few alterations to make sure that it sits well in the mix. Now to add a little bit more to that pad, I wanted to add some of these tape strings, because the Microsonic here inside of Cubasis has a bunch of awesome tape presets. As you can see here, we have the tape 8 choirs, tape clarinet, tape bassoon, brass, clarinet, flute, and here the tape strings. So we can hear those real quick by themselves, but they're going to be pretty quiet. And then finally, we just have our two ambient sounds here, the vinyl crackle and the rain inside of a car. Now, both of these are going to be pretty quiet, but they do add some great ambiance to the mix overall. And I'm not doing too much to any of these. I believe I have a channel strip on both of these, just reducing the highs here, doing a bit of a high cut. All right, let's listen to what these sound like. Let's hear the vinyl crackle first. All right, very cool. And now let's hear the rain. All right, and with both of these together, it sounds like this. So just a great overall ambient sound for the lo-fi genre. Alright, and now it's time for our final thoughts. And if you are still rocking with us, then we just can't thank you enough for being here, especially those that are here every single Wednesday and Friday to watch our live streams and live premieres and help us build out this community. Now, we do hope you enjoyed this video and maybe were inspired to see just how much you can actually do with some of these stock plugins. There actually are quite a few videos out there already on YouTube that are showcasing what you can actually do with some of these stock plugins in various different desktop DAWs like FL Studio, Ableton Live, Logic Pro, Reason, and more. And so, of course, that was certainly part of the inspiration for this video. But just do remember to never feel too limited in your current situation, because if you really do want something, then you will find a way. Because there just really is way too many examples and stories out there of people producing incredible music with very limited hardware or very limited equipment. Believe it or not, someone actually made an album out of an Apple store using just the stock plugins inside of Logic. And that was because their own hard drive with all of their songs and all of their music and all of their virtual instruments and of course their DAW completely died. And yet they still found a way to make incredible music. So all I'm just trying to say is that, guys, there really is always a way. And of course, we hope that all of you do find a way to be able to enter our brand new completely free contest that is going on from right now all the way through till July 28th. You can download the completely free sample pack that is required for this contest and see all the rules, prizes, and details on how to enter right now on our website at MobileMusicPro.com/contest. And of course, we always have a ton more content coming down the pipe for you folks, so if you do want to keep up with everything that we're doing over here, from sample packs to sample pack contests, giveaways, and more, then definitely make sure to check out our completely free mailing list at our website at MobileMusicPro.com. And so, until next time, everybody, keep talking music, and we'll see you later. Hey everybody, Vortex here, and if you're not aware yet, we now have over 100 fully edited mobile music tutorial videos. And we make music every single Wednesday live on our channel right inside of Cubasis on our iPad. Plus, we also have a bunch of free sample packs, guides, and more at our website at MobileMusicPro.com/free. And so if you are into that sort of thing, producing music on your iPhone or iPad, then definitely make sure to subscribe and check out the rest of the videos on the channel that we know you'll love.